Hey friends, welcome to the mess that is my office. I had promised some folks that I would come on and give my kind of reaction to the, let me move you a little closer, kind of give the my reaction, for whatever it's worth, to the Women's Prize for Fiction long list and the Carol Shields Prize for Fiction long list. I have some of them here that I hope to read. A couple that I've tried and or read, and we'll talk about those in a minute. I'm not going to go through each one individually. I will link below the list that you can go on and read kind of the background. There were a couple of surprises that I was not really expecting. I feel like whether this is something that I do to myself or there's a lot of emphasis put on the Women's Prize for Fiction. It's been around longer. And then Carol Shields Prize, I think this is his second or third year that we've had it. So it's a little bit newer and doesn't have as much history. So yeah, I think I'm not one. I mean, I tried last year. I tried the year before too, to read all of one or the other. And I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try and read the ones that I have accessible to me, because a lot of times there's books, especially on the Women's Prize for Fiction, because it's in a UK based list. There's books that aren't out yet in the US. And then I'm also just going to read what's of interest to me. For the Women's Prize for Fiction, let's start there. I tried to read The Ministry of Time by Kayleen Bradley. It just wasn't for me. And I DNF'd that one. From what I've heard, like some people say you have to hold on until the end and then it all seems worth it. For me, that's a lot to ask for a book. I've heard other people like not love the main characters but really like other characters. So I don't know. I'm definitely not up on the times with the book community and any controversies or anything like that. But I will say that it's kind of a genre blend, I feel like, maybe. It's historical fiction and sci-fi, or romance and sci-fi. Something like that. I don't know. And maybe that's what was wrong with it for me. It just was too much going on at once, but that's that one. And then I also tried The Safe Keep by Yael Vanderwooden, which I DNF'd. I liked the two main characters. I think for me, it was the wrong time for me to read that book. And I feel like it was was it on the Booker Prize list that made me pick it up? Because I hadn't heard of it before that, but it was available at my library. And then I do have some from the library. And some of these I'm not even going to mention because I don't know anything about them. Do you want to read Nesting by Rosen O'Donnell? It is an Irish author. It's a debut. And let's see, it says it's a bright spring afternoon. I have my computer right over here. Ciara Faye makes a second decision that will change everything. She grabs her clothes and her child and leaves. So I've heard things about it, that it's about domestic violence, and the resources that are or are not available to women who have to leave those situations. So I do have that one coming to me. And then I have my list. I wrote them down. And then, let's see. I have The Good Girl by Aria Aber from the library. This is another debut, which I do like. There's a number of debuts on the list, which that's really cool. This is about the daughter of an Afghan refugee and her year of self-discovery, and a portrait of the artist as a young woman set in Berlin that can't escape its history. So it's about Berlin's artistic underground, where techno and drugs fill warehouses. And a 19-year-old finds her tribe. She was born in Germany to Afghan parents, raised in public housing. So yeah, it sounds really interesting, just different perspectives than I've experienced. So I really love stories like that. And then what other ones? Okay, so there's a little Elizabeth Stroud. Which one's on here? Tell Me Everything. I'm not an Elizabeth Strout fan. I know there's lots of people that love her. And I don't know. I've read Olive Kitteridge and I've read the Lucy Barton one. And I feel like her writing for me is too meh for me, like too flat, it doesn't really stir anything in me, like any response to the characters or the story, or yeah. So lots of people love her. She's got lots of fans. I'm not gonna read her book, but she's on these lists a lot. The other one I did get that I feel like I am doing something mean to myself, but we'll see. So I had some money on Pango when these books, the lists were released, and there was one seller that was selling one of the books from the Women's Prize and one of the books from the Carol Shields Prize. And I decided to get them. And this one that I'm going to show you, I got it. I've never been interested in this book, but now it's kind of one of those, it's not FOMO. I just want to know what the hype's about, which is exactly why I read Yellowface. That was FOMO. This one, it's not really FOMO, but it is FOMO. And it's maybe because I do like older protagonists, but is the only story that we can tell about older protagonists, like 40s, 50s, and the main character may be a little bit younger than that in this one, but I feel like the story I hear all the time is they must get out of their marriage and away from their kids to free themselves and have a sexual revelation. Is that? Anybody else feel that? I feel that. Anyway, I'm going to read all Forced by Miranda July, or I'm going to try it anyway. So she's a semi-famous artist who announces her plan to drive cross country from Los Angeles to New York City. She leaves her husband and her child at home. She drives 30 minutes and stops at a motel on the freeway. And then it says she immerses herself in an entirely different journey. With July's wry voice, perfect comic timing, unabashed curiosity about human intimacy, and palpable delight in pushing boundaries, All Fours tells the story of one woman's quest for a new kind of freedom. So I may just be setting myself up to DNF a book, but I thought I'll try it. See where it goes. A lot of people really love this book. So I don't know. It's my own kind of hangups of hearing that story. I feel like I hear that story over and over again, or read that story over and over again, that's what's keeping me from this book. And maybe it's an amazing book. I don't know, but we're going to try it. This is Yellowface 2.0 for me, basically. And I don't think I had my channel when I read Yellowface, did I? So let me just tell you, for Yellowface, when I read it, it ended up just being a 3-star for me, Yellowface, because I think I listened to too many reviews and things were spoiled for me, and it didn't have the punch it probably would have had if I had read it without knowing what was coming. So I don't know. That's just kind of my thought on that. I've actually started one because I am going to do a vlog of these as well, reading these. I've started Fundamentally by Nusaba Yunus. This is about a woman who goes to write an article on the methods to rehabilitate ISIS brides. And it's blurred by Dolly Alderton. So it sounded interesting to me. I love the cover, purple. It's like a purple blue. And so far I'm liking the writing style. I also got from the library Crooked Seeds by Karen Jennings. This one is a woman in post-apartheid South Africa. She has to deal with some potential family secrets when the police discover some skeletal remains in her family home's backyard. I think that's right. So that sounds interesting to me. The rest of the list I either can't get access to or wasn't interested in. So I'm on hold for a couple at the library, but the holds are like really long, so I don't know that I'll get to them. So the Carol Shields Prize for fiction is writers from North America, the US or Canada. They can be female or non-binary. And I felt like there was a bigger variety on this list, but there were fewer that I was interested in. So yeah, that was kind of how I felt about this one. I have only read one on the list, and that is Bear by Julia Phillips, which I did not like. I can understand sort of why it's on here. It's a very interesting premise. And honestly, I feel like I just didn't like how it all came together and the like third act kind of thing for that one. Let's see. One that I've gotten out from the library, but I found at a thrift store, is The Hearing Test by Eliza Berry Callahan. This is about a person who experiences sudden hearing loss. In her late 20s, she wakes up one morning to a deep drone in her right ear, and she's diagnosed with sudden deafness. but offered no explanation of its cause. And she keeps a record of her year while living alone in a New York City studio apartment with her dog. So I think I tried it from the library and couldn't get into it, but I will try that one again. And then there's a number on here, a number of books on here that sound cool, but not my cup of tea, like sci-fi type stuff. So if you're interested in sci-fi, I would definitely check out some of the books on the list. All Fours by Miranda July is also on the list. 2 lists. I feel like this was on something else too. So that was sort of another reason to try it, I guess. The other book that seller on Pango was selling was Creation Link by Rachel Kushner. I read the first chapter in this in one of my library vlogs, I think, and I liked it. I just didn't, I think it was due back or something. This one is about an American woman who infiltrates an anarchist collective in France. So that, I mean, it sounds more up my alley than All Fours does. Code Noir by Kanisha Lubrin is one that I've heard about. It is a debut, and it's about, oh yeah, I remember. It's about the historical decrees that were passed in 1685 by King Louis XIV of France, defining the conditions of slavery in the French colonial empire. The original code had 59 articles. It says that it's like a range from contemporary realism to dystopia, from futuristic fantasy to historical fiction, braided stories together, looking at those decrees. There's a lot in there that interests me. And it sounds like something that really hasn't been done before, which is kind of hard to do these days, I feel like, in the book world. I feel like we're getting same stories over and over again. So this sounds very different. And if I can find a copy, I will try and read it. It might not be in time for like the short lists and winners and stuff. And then I do have out Liars by Sarah Manguso. I'd heard about this one before the list. It's a searing novel about being a wife, a mother, an artist, and how marriage makes liars of us all. A nuclear family can destroy a woman artist. I'd always known that, but I'd never suspected how easily I'd fall into one anyway. This sort of sounds sort of on the lines of All Fours, and I don't know, it's just not my first go-to trope, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm just gonna try these. The other one I'm hoping to listen to while I pack is River East, River West by Aubrey Lecure, I think. This was on the Women's Prize list last year. That's the other thing about the prize list, is that the eligibility kind of overlaps a little bit. So some that were on the Women's Prize for Fiction last year are on Carol Shields this year. River East, River West, it has a dual timeline Shanghai in 2007, we're looking at a 14-year-old girl, Alva, she has an American mother and a Chinese father. She's never met her father, and she wants to go to America, but her mom becomes engaged to their Chinese landlord, and Alva ends up going to an American school in Shanghai. And so we've got a little bit of her life there at the school. And then the second timeline goes back to 1985 and looking at the Chinese landlord, Lu Fan, and his life as a young married man working in a shipping yard, and some political consequences happen, and what brings him and Alva together. So I did have the physical copy out of that last year and just never got to it. So I did find it on audio, so I hope to listen to that one. And like I said, if I can find some of these other ones on audio, that would be amazing. All Fours in Creation Lake, these two have like 300 people on the wait list for the audiobook. And then one that I did get for myself was Cicada Summer by Erica McKean. This is set in the summer of 2020. A heat wave bearing down and a brood of periodical cicadas climbing into the trees. Husha mourns the recent death of her mother while quarantining with her ailing grandfather Arthur at his lakeside cabin in remote Ontario. They're soon joined by Husha's ex-lover Nellie, who arrives without explanation. So Husha's cleaning out her mother's house, and they're all dealing with the pandemic in a cabin. I don't know, pandemic fiction for me is a yes, usually, most of the time. So that's kind of what interests me off the list. I'm not as interested in them this year. I thought it was interesting what was on it, but I didn't really have any predictions or anything like that. I feel a little bit out of the loop with literary fiction because I'm trying to read backlist stuff off my shelves. So this doesn't help. This doesn't help me at all because there's a bunch of library books and newer books to me, which I'm not supposed to be buying anyway. So that's just a whole nother conversation we'll have another time. So I'm gonna get back to packing. These are just kind of my thoughts on the prize lists, and I will vlog reading some of these while I pack. And yeah, be sure you subscribe so you can see those vlogs coming up. And I will see you all very soon. Let me know in the comment how you feel about the prize lists, if you're reading anything from them, if you've read anything of these. Let me know. And do you think I will like All Fours by Miranda July? Will I? We'll have to see. All right. Have a great night. See ya. Bye.